And here we are again, another season, second season of CHRISTalk here at St. John. I am Minister Eric Allen Frazier II, and I am gathered today with some great people. To my right, I have my wife, Trish Frazier, and next to her is Sister Shayna Hall and her husband, Kevin Hall. And over to my left, I have Brianna and Ryan Thompson. And we're just going to have a conversation tonight. We're calling this episode As One: Love, Marriage, and All the Things. So let's get into it. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing good.
All right.
Good, man.
All right. So one of the reasons why we want to have this conversation is because it seems like marriage is the elusive conversation, funny enough, in the church. It's like nobody really wants to talk about their marriage and things of that nature. And so we have couples who don't really feel like they have a support system. One of the great things that happened when my wife and I first got married was we got partnered with a couple who had 50 years on us. Wow. 50 years of marriage. And so they kind of took us under their wing and helped us navigate some of the hard things in marriage. And everybody doesn't get that. So we were blessed in that. And it was great insight on our pastor to see that we needed it. And so I just want to just have a conversation with with us as married people. Some of us been married a while, and some of us haven't been married that long. But I think we can all glean from each other. All right, so let me start with this. A man's greatest treasure is his wife. She is a gift from the Lord. That's Proverbs 18:22 in the current English version. And then I like to couple that with, that's why a man will leave his own father and mother. He marries a woman, and the two of them become like one person. And that's Genesis 2:24, also in the current English version. Let me ask you guys this, starting with you and Shayna, Kevin. How did your love story begin?
You want me to tell it? Okay. All right. Our love story began when we were teenagers. We met at a youth church convention out in Fresno. Back in those days, churches from all over California would come together for this convention. And we'd be there a couple days. I think it used to be after like Christmas or something like that. And we met then. And, we didn't have a full-on connection then, but we met then, knew of each other. And then years later, in our early 20s, back when they had MySpace, I found her on MySpace.
What?
Yeah, man. MySpace. And, of course, I inboxed her, and the rest is history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that how you remember it, Shayna?
We got reconnected on MySpace, and after that, it was history.
Just history. All right.
A lot of history, man.
How about you two? What's your love story?
No, because
Y'all gotta put
you're
y'all,
gonna give a false. My husband's gonna get a false. How we? But I'm gonna give a shout out to Irvy,
Oh, Irvy.
my brother, because it's a lot of things I don't even know. My husband was just fine, y'all, and I was like, I don't know.
The moral of
It was a blind date.
Really?
We had a blind date, and I didn't know who he was. So when he came out to eat with my twin sister and Irvy, we were getting to know each other. My twin sister was like, he has a girlfriend, because he was on his phone the whole time. And I was like, but then he asked for my number, and then it was history.
History. All right.
Uh-oh.
Look, y'all revealing stuff I did not
did
know.
not know that.
I thought y'all just met here at the church.
Same here.
Because I know that Ryan had asked
this
me
time.
about you. So that's crazy.
He was doing his back work,
And
too.
I thought y'all met in college. Y'all over here revealing the secrets. Oh, I'm glad we had this conversation.
What about you and Trish?
So what about me and Trish, baby? You want to tell it?
Well, I think you're a better storyteller than I am, but it all started back in the day at the old school, and some of you all know Hilltop Mall.
Hilltop Mall.
Right.
Hilltop Mall. We both worked in Hilltop Mall. You say that I remember that you saw me and I didn't see you, or something of that nature, and I was like,
No, I had just moved back to California. I was looking for a job, and I walked into this place called Harold Penner, and there were two girls there.
see, I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure she's
Tell
one of
me,
them. Now, I didn't look the way I do today, so I was definitely off-putting to black women especially. I had lived in a more predominantly white neighborhood, state, town, all of those things. So I had this look that looked more universal, I guess.
That's a nice way to put it.
Great description.
And so they looked at me when I was like, oh, I'm looking for a job. I did not fit the description of the people that worked in the place, right? But I ended up getting another job in that mall, Hilltop. And a few months after that, this young lady sold me a suit to go on a date with another lady, all right? And
Really?
so I noticed her, but I was paying attention to the other girl, really. But once all of that got out of the way, I really noticed her. And then I pursued her, and she kept rejecting me.
I remember that.
I know you do.
In case you didn't know,
he
I used to
wasn't-
work with them too.
He wasn't. Look, we weren't cooked yet. We both weren't cooked for each other yet. So.
But she would reject me, and I'd be like, why not? I was giving her all of the Marcus from Boomerang vibes and everything. I was giving her all of that, and she was just like, no. And long story short, 6 years later, we were hanging out just as friends, and I was actually cool with being by myself.
Same.
And by the end of the night, us hanging out was a date. Us hanging out became a date, and we've been together ever since, and that was 16 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I told you he's a better storyteller than I am.
All right. And Kevin and Shayna, how long y'all been married?
It will be 14 years in September.
14 years, yeah. Uh-huh. And how long y'all been married?
2 years.
2 years. All right. So as you can see, we've got 16, 14, 2. But every marriage is different. So it doesn't matter how many years you have behind you, because the experiences. I mean, and even though you guys have only been married for 2 years, how long did y'all date or court or whatever y'all called it?
It's been about 7 years.
I think it was 10.
10 years.
It was 10 years. She know.
10 years.
She's like, I've been waiting on this man to ask me to marry him. So, but yeah, so, you know, how long did y'all date or court before you got married?
Well, we didn't really have the traditional or typical situation because we had a baby. So we didn't get married right away. But we dated for about 2 years? About 2 years.
Yeah.
And then having her into year 2, and then we were like, you know what? This just seems right. Let's just get married.
All right, all right. I remember that wedding. It was really nice.
Thank you.
What y'all don't know is we have the same wedding song.
Do we?
Yes.
The weirdest thing ever. I'm just like, oh my goodness. It's all good though.
Great minds think
Yeah,
alike.
that's right. That's right.
And then we courted, funny enough,
Yeah.
again, we were friends for 6 years. We courted for 7 months. Actually, we courted for 3.5 months.
it
Was
didn't take
engaged
long.
for 3.5 months. And so it only took 7 months from courtship to the aisle. And I'm thankful for it. I'm glad she's still with me, because, you know, I'm not the easiest one. But, yeah, so.
When you know, you know.
None of us
That's
are.
right. Yeah.
All right, so, Kevin, when did you know that Shayna was the one?
For me, I knew she was the one quite early on. I think once I started bringing her around family and brought her to church and introduced her to various friends, I think by the time we finished, you know, those situations, those interactions, I knew right then and there that she was definitely the one. Yeah, honestly, that's when I knew. I just, you know, it's not often, at least back in those days, I'm talking like I'm like 40 years old, like 50 years old or something like that. But
Excuse me, sir. 44 over here, okay?
my bad. But in dating, when I was single, I always, I would date girls that weren't always the type that you would bring to church. You could bring around family. There was always a disconnect in those areas.
Right.
And so meeting her and finding that we connected together for one, and then she was able to really just vibe and blend with, my family and bring her here to this church and seeing how smooth that was, knowing that we both grew up similarly, her coming from a church family where her dad's a deacon and so forth. So she totally understood the various, the dynamics, So, I knew right away. I knew that it's hard to find those special
And I remember
ones.
when you introduced Shayna to us, and we were just like, okay, we see, okay. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Shayna, did you know around the time that he knew, or did it take you a little longer? Sometimes it does.
No, I think I knew when we were just hanging out, being friends, and I found myself like, okay, well, I want to let's link up this weekend, or let's link up today, or trying to always wanting to be around him, just because
That
laughter.
guy, Go ahead.
Yes, you're that guy, babe. But no, just because he was smooth and he was nice, but at the same time, because he was a person that I could be myself around, and explaining to people. A lot of people don't understand the church world. What our beliefs are, or how we want to live, or having to go to church. My dad is a deacon. I've been in church all my life, so that connected us. And then at the same time too, during our party days, we understood party, but then we also have responsibilities as well. So
All right. That's the rule, right?
Yes,
you
absolutely.
Party on Friday, Saturday.
That's
but
right.
You best be in church Sunday
Sunday morning.
That's it.
bright and early. All right, I get it. How about you, Ryan? When did you know that Brianna was the one?
I'm gonna have to say, like Kevin said, I pretty much knew that she was already the one. The women before her was already giving me a headache, so I'd already talked to God, and I said, the next one that you put in front of me, this has to be the one. I'm dating to marry. I'm not. I'm done with everything else.
All right. And it still took you 10 years, huh?
In his own time.
Don't come for him.
You can't rush
Don't
it.
come for him.
Well, that's 10 years of God's time. Excuse me.
Right.
That's right.
So like I was saying, yeah, it was that, and just knowing she was the one from the beginning, and it was a little bit more of her, her characteristics, her personality, but I knew she was the one.
All right. And Brianna, how long did it take you to realize that he was the one?
I can't really say. I feel like I already knew he was the one when I met Ryan. It's just his character, the way he carried himself, his family. I'm big on family. Me and my family is like this, this is my brother, that's my sister, and we're all just like close. And I feel like with him, his family is the same dynamic. And I feel like when we met each other, all our families just blended. So
I know that we were excited because we was like, oh, he come from a good family. Yeah.
Yes. Family's important though,
Family is
because
very
it
important.
can make or break your relationship.
It really can.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that people don't really realize is that, while they say that you're becoming one and, you will leave your mother and father, the reality is that while we become the unit, they still come along
Absolutely,
for the ride.
yeah. Right.
And a lot of times, the outside noise can really play a part in the demise of a relationship or a marriage. So yeah, it's very important to understand what the family dynamic is, what kind of baggage and trauma somebody might come from, and all of those things. It's just really something that you have to take into consideration. So that was very smart on your part. But I was already really excited anyway. But now
He taking all the credit and trying to.
I'm not taking all the
nothing to
credit.
do
I'm
with
just
it.
saying we were
we
were
were
actually
rooting for you
happy
guys, yeah.
that it was him
Absolutely.
that showed up at the door and not somebody else.
That's right.
because it'd be like
Some
because
folks
others
didn't
be
show
like
at the door.
Yeah, we had not
Okay,
for her.
yeah,
No, not for her. It
okay.
wasn't for her.
All right, all right.
No, we had somebody honking the horn on a motorcycle. No, he can't even. No, as a matter of fact, just tell him keep on rolling.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we
yeah,
ain't
you gotta
doing
come
this.
to the
We're not
door.
playing these games.
That's right.
But that was for the other sister. But
Do not be busting my sisters out. Do
all.
not.
other sister.
No,
There
sir.
are other sisters.
Yeah,
Next.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
You're right.
There's
yeah.
other sisters.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, she got a whole slew of sisters, and y'all think they gonna know who we talking about.
Next
But anyway,
She even have our video team laughing. Go ahead.
Your wife said next question.
well, not the next question.
I'm
I want to
sorry.
ask you, when did you know?
When did I know? I knew that was Valentine's Day. Was that 2007, I believe?
2007.
You know, it's just the way that you handled me with so much care, and I felt protected in your space, and it came from a genuine place. And so, yeah, that really took me, and then from there, I just wanted to be in your space every day, all day, at the end of the day.
All right.
So, yeah.
All right, y'all. All right, y'all. And she was slow on the realization because I knew 2 years ahead of that. Kevin might remember. I would tell people that she was my wife when we'd be at
Yeah.
work because people would be
Yeah.
like, "What's up with old girl at the register?" And I'd be like, "Oh, that's my wife."
Yep.
And they were like, "Really?"
Very
and then
true.
like this one dude even went up to her and asked her,
True story.
"Is that your husband?"
What'd
She's
she
like, "No,
say?
he's just my friend."
Yeah,
he's,
he's
like a
just my
brother
friend.
to
Don't
me.
pay attention to him.
And then what did I tell you?
Oh, and then I did say something about you being my brother, and this was years ago. And you're like, don't ever say that to me. I'm never. No, I don't care. I'm not your brother.
Don't
Not
call
like
me
my
your brother because I don't see you
I don't
that
see
way.
you as my sister.
So, and then, but 2 years after that, once we started our courtship, and then when we got engaged, she was still working there. And the dude that had asked me about her before came in and he heard that we were engaged. He's like, "You weren't playing, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was
Very
serious."
persistent.
So, for you brothers, don't be creepy or anything. But if you know and you know that you know, be persistent, but don't be creepy. All
There you
right.
go.
But because there is a difference, and we don't want to trick women into being with us either.
Very
so,
true.
but marriage is nuance, right? And courtship gets us to that place. But there's so much that goes on when we talk about marriage that we don't even realize. I watched a video just yesterday, and it was like, oh, this came right at the right time. This woman was talking about how she and her husband had dated for 9 years, and then they got married. And there was a couple at their church that had been married for several years before they had been married. And they used to look at that couple as couple goals, right? And so they really looked at them and thought, oh, they've got the perfect marriage. They're the power couple. They look good together. They do things together. They got this and that. And one day, it was announced that they were getting a divorce. And the husband was talking to the husband that was divorcing, and he was like, "Man, we really looked up to y'all. We really thought that y'all were like the gold couple." He's like, "It was all a facade. We manufactured that image so that we did look that way." He's like, "But we haven't been happy for years." And I bring that up because so many people don't make it in their marriage, right? And the marriage falls apart for one reason or another. And I think one of those reasons is the lack of transparency. I think also another reason is the lack of support.
Right.
So let me ask you, Kevin, Shayna, who is your support system when it comes to your marriage?
Family. I know that our families are, I'm sure you guys have heard Pastor say all the time, my parents are the same way about Kevin. It's always we're here to support you, however it is, whether it's, allowing you all to have time with each other will keep the kids. Encouraging you to have date nights, encouraging you to communicate, be transparent. We also have friends as well that, encourage us, and we are couples. We can come together and we can hang out and we can share with one another, our marriage topics, displeasures, but then they always bring us back and they're grounded. It's not a thing of, leave him, leave her. It's like, you got to work it out. You got a family, you love each other, and that's really important.
Very important.
I think she answered it, honestly.
I only need one of y'all to answer, so it's all good. And how about you two? Who is your support system?
I'll say family. My mom, my siblings, my dad. Same for him. And we also have his first cousins. We're all married. So we always go to each other. When we need something, we link up maybe like twice a month. We are all having babies now. So our godchild is just born today. So
Congratulations on
it's really good for us with new marriages and new babies that's coming. So our family.
All right. Who do you say is our support system?
I would definitely say family for sure. And also my pastor, or our pastor, has been supportive since day one. And some people around the church as well.
I will say that we have received a lot of support.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people was like, "Oh, you didn't invite me to your wedding. I didn't even know you wanted to come."
Yeah.
But it was definitely a surprise, but it was a pleasant surprise because sometimes you don't know how people are going to feel about somebody's marriage or whether or not you're going to get the support. So we have been blessed in that regard. How have you maintained your individuality while becoming one? And I'm asking that. I'm going to give you the reference scripture as to why I'm asking that. Malachi 2:15 in the English Revised Version. God wants husbands and wives to become one body and one spirit. Why? So that they would have holy children and protect that spiritual unity. Don't cheat on your wife. She has been your wife from the time you were young. All right. And so again, how do you maintain your individuality while becoming one? And how does that correlate? I know that it sounds like it doesn't correlate. It's about that oneness. And in the individuality, sometimes we think our individuality becomes way more important than that bond of oneness that is supposed to be happening. Does anybody have anything to speak on when it comes to maintaining your individuality while becoming one at the same time?
I mean, you have to take the time for self. You have to take the time to take care of yourself, to remember what makes you happy. And also, I'd like to do things like work out and just take a walk in the park just by myself, or just sit down in the park or sit by the water. Mornings are my thing. I love first thing in the morning. I love to work out and meditate and just, really get in tune with Trish. And,
All right. And that makes Trish a better Trish for me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times we think that we got to do everything together. And I think that's how we were when we first got married.
Yeah. We were just discussing this earlier that I was letting you know, Shayna, that I used to go with my husband to the barbershop. Like, we were always together, literally sit in the barbershop until he was done. Like, that's just a lot. And then I realized, like, okay, we are hanging out a whole lot, and we need to kind of not necessarily step back, but just
We still have to find that time for ourselves.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I like my downtime at night, and you go to
In the
bed
morning.
early.
Yeah, because I wake up
And you
early.
wake up early. So you get your time in the morning, and I need my time at night because I need to release the day, right? And that's when, and I take that time to think in my head, or do something that is just relaxing for me.
Yeah.
Right? And that's very important to fueling yourself. So
Absolutely.
that you have something to pour into the marriage.
Right.
Right?
Sometimes I'm in the car, just sitting in the car before I even come into the house, and you're sometimes like, "Why are you just sitting in the car?" Just need a little alone time before I get into the house. So, yeah, just taking the time to just breathe and,
Yeah, that's just me want to make sure that you're safe. That's all.
you can see my locations. I'm safe right there.
Look, they might have just left the phone. I gotta call you, make sure you're still there.
Right outside.
And I'll chime in and say that it's also very important to miss each other.
Right.
Right? It's very, very important. So that time that we're spending away from each other, we all know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Go on a vacation or go on a business trip, haven't seen your spouse in a few days. You know that feeling when you
Oh,
come
yeah.
back home after being away. That's necessary as well.
That's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
I just did my guys trip in June.
Okay.
And was gone for like 3 days, and I couldn't wait to bust through that door.
Yeah.
I was missing my wife. I'm like, this is too much testosterone. I've been around. I need to get this feminine energy around me and
right.
and just love on her and all of those things, because you don't even realize that you have that thing that you miss until you have been away from it to miss it. It's very, they say that heart makes the heart grow. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and because we're usually not away from each other. And this is one of the few times, other than like business trips, this is my first pleasure trip that I was away from her. And it was just like, okay, that was fine and good, but yeah, I need to get home to my wife. How about
I
y'all?
will say there's a lot of marriages that just think they're one and that's it. But I feel like as individuals, we should express our needs to our husbands or our wives, because sometimes we don't know. If I like to go out with my girls on a certain day, he needs to know. If I like to sit there and have my self-care and read my book, which I do a lot, and he knows this, he needs to know. I feel like there's things that we can sit down and we can talk about. This A, B, and C, these are my needs. This is my self-care time, and I want you to know so you can, I don't know, put it on the calendar or whatever you want to do. But I feel like some husbands or wives just don't know what you need. And I feel like in order for us to be an individual in our marriages, they should know that.
So it's about communicating.
Exactly.
All right. Now, how about check-ins? Does anybody do check-ins?
Go deeper into that.
So we haven't done one in a while. We haven't done an extensive one. But what we do sometimes, we will sit down and be like, let's do a check-in.
Yeah, true.
How are you?
Yeah,
What's
what do you
going
need?
on?
Right.
What can I do to help you in the areas that you need help?
Yeah.
Those types of things. Do you guys do that?
All the time, I feel like. All the time. She does it to me all the time, and it's random. It can be very random, and sometimes it could throw me off a lot of the times. I'm not even like really thinking in a mental space, on a random Saturday morning, and she'll have this serious look on her face, and she'll say like, how'd you feel about yesterday? Or how are you feeling right now? How are you really feeling right now? And I'm like, where is this coming from? But yes, it's good. It's good to like she was saying, communicate, your needs and communicate your feelings to your spouse.
And I think that it's also important that it is random, because sometimes we don't even know how we're
Right.
feeling until we're asked the question, and then we have to do a self-evaluation.
Sure.
And then it's like, well, you know what? I've been having a couple of crappy days, and I didn't even realize it.
Right.
So thank you for bringing me into the acknowledgement that I need to fuel myself in some kind of way. And then if he needs your help, he can then tell you how you can be of help to that purpose. So yeah, check-ins are very important. And like I said, we haven't done one in a while, and we need to get back to that because we used to do them all the time. You know, especially when you're newly married, it's just like easy. Like, oh yeah, let's make sure that we doing all the things that we're supposed to do. Let's check off all the boxes that we learned in premarital counseling. Now, speaking of premarital counseling, was there any advice in premarital counseling that you took with you that has helped you thus far in the marriage? Either of you.
Yes.
What is that?
Expectations.
Okay, let's delve into that.
Shout out to the
Go
beautiful
deeper.
Minister Peggy.
If you are newly married or if you've been married for 60 years, expectations for your spouse can really shake things up in the worst way. Communication is key. You know, working things out is very key. So it's a hindrance to your marriage if, you know, you're waking up every day or you're coming home every day expecting without communicating, just thinking that your spouse is going to do A, B, and C, and they're not even on the same wavelength as you at all.
Right.
So
That's a setup for failure.
yeah, expectations is a big thing to you know, just look out for in marriage.
All right. Anybody else when it comes to that ordeal?
We did marriage counseling with a couple that was married for like 40 or so years.
Yeah.
They really poured into us and like drilled into us balance because we already had a baby.
Right.
He was in ministry and we worked. So balance has always been on our forefront, of course, with communication. But you guys know Kevin works and works and works. So sometimes I have to just tell him, stop, no more working. And it's not, and I think a lot of times he thinks I'm trying to control him or I'm trying to, which I'm not, of course. But I also see that my husband is tired. I also see that he needs a break. 9.9% out of the time when I do it, he's like, I really needed that. So I always try to keep that in the forefront of us because juggling our kids, we work in one area. Well, we work from home now, but we were working in different areas, going to church in a different area. Our kids were in a different area, so we were always like this. So so we just always continue to try to communicate and then also try to keep a healthy balance so that no one or nothing is slighted.
Yeah, that's like essential. Go ahead, baby.
I remember in premarital counseling that there was this sheet of paper that was laid out in front of us, and on that paper was a circle, and it was you and I in the circle. And outside of that circle, we learned that no one is more important than what's inside the circle.
All right. No, nothing is more important than a marriage.
Exactly. And so I tend to go back to that circle and remember that, okay, nothing or no one is more important than our marriage.
Right.
That's right.
You know, with us being married 16 years now, well, next month technically, but I say 16 years because she was my wife the moment I told her what my intentions were. But
All right.
I'm just telling you how it was. I was already there, but we have to always go back to what we learned in the beginning. And premarital counseling was very helpful for us. It was helpful for us also because it helped us to see, because we did a whole there was a whole packet we had to do before we even got to the actual counseling part, and we had to do it separately, and we couldn't talk about it with each other. And then it was presented to us at the end of our counseling. But what it helped us do is help us realize, not even realize, but it confirmed that we were very much so aligned.
Yeah.
Our responses to all of the questions and our breakdowns of the scripture were so similar. It was just like, did y'all talk about this beforehand?
No, yeah.
And it was like, no, but that helped. And sometimes, like, you know, in marriage, sometimes you feel like, is this really where I'm supposed to be, right? And that's just the reality of it. Sometimes you're feeling like, are we gonna make it? And then you have to go back to that space and remember, oh no, I know that this is confirmed. You know, just like with our faith in God, sometimes it's just like, well, God, if you're really there, and then it's like, you know I'm here because I've done this, and this. And so we have to be reminded from time to time of what it is that we started and why we need to continue to go on, even when we don't feel like it. And the reality of it is that sometimes, whether it be a day or a few days or a few months or even a year, sometimes you just don't feel like it, but you have to find some space inside of you to just go on and push forward through those hard times. Now, when it comes to pushing through, the reality is that there are going to be disagreements in a marriage. And it's about how you communicate those disagreements that will have an impact on how successful you navigate through that disagreement, right? And so let's talk about fighting fair. Do you fight fair?
For me, fighting fair, I try to fight fair. I have to always remind, well, not always, I like to remind you that, look, I'm not against you. I am on your team. We're on the same team. And so let's do this. We don't have to fight. And if we fight, we're fighting together.
All right. I will say this. One time, we were probably married for about 7 years, and it was just a lot going on. It wasn't just our marriage. It was everything. It was our family. It was everything that was going on. And I was sitting in our bedroom on the bench, and I said to my wife, sometimes I just want to get in the car and just drive away and not look back. And she's like, well, I'm going to be right there beside you. That actually helped me because sometimes when you feel like you're alone, to be reassured that you're not, that does a lot for your mental, right?
True.
And so that really helped me on that in that situation. And I don't even know if I've ever even said that to you, but that was monumental. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, now how do you protect your marriage? Since we're talking about fighting, so how do you protect your marriage? Anybody?
I would say number one, prayer, of course.
Prayer.
Conversations with God. And number two, for us personally, well, for me, I don't let everyone sit at our table. I don't let everyone in our business. I can just leave the house tonight, and me and Ryan got into it, and none of y'all would know. But that didn't happen tonight, but that's our business. That's our
But if it
business.
did.
But if it did, nobody would know
There you
because
go.
I'm protecting our marriage. So if you ever heard, not saying you guys, but if you ever heard anything about me and Ryan, it's probably false because we don't talk a lot about things that happen in our marriage. We're very personal when it comes to that. We're very protective. So I feel like with prayer and just not letting everybody sit at our table, that's how we keep it.
I like to sit
Peaceful.
at the table. All right, anybody else got anything about that? How to protect your marriage?
Are you looking at me? Okay. Honestly, yeah. I think I just have to piggyback on what Brianna said, and we have to make sure that we present a united front when we're out, right? You have to be careful how you discuss things with friends and family, especially family.
Oh yeah, they take it personal, don't they?
You cannot tell your family any and everything that's
They
going on.
won't get over
They
it.
will not forget.
They don't let go.
I think we all probably have just learned that even just in prior relationships. Once you tell your parents or anything about this person and what they did to you, there is no forgiveness.
Right.
So it's just about having a united front when you go out and when you when you're representing each other.
Oh yeah, most definitely. family is something crazy. So while we love them, yeah, they go harder than you do.
Yes.
For you, and it's you do have to be careful with that. Now, let's talk about the dynamic of gender dynamics within a marriage. Are there gender roles in your marriage? Because with all of this new age stuff, everybody's doing some everything. So I just want to hear from y'all, some believers, and if whether or not gender plays a part in your marriage at all.
I'll say straight off the bat, we have a very traditional marriage.
Okay.
We definitely have our roles, and I think we play them well. She may say something. No, I think she agrees. I'm not even going to say she disagree. But when we think about things that we do, and I could be incorrect on how I'm understanding it, but if I'm understanding it correctly, when we talk about roles such as my lane is taking care of the grass, making sure that the exterior of our house is taken care of. Things like that typically fall on the man. And is that what is
that's what we're talking about, those things.
So
I know sometimes it's I remember my mom growing up, because sometimes my dad wasn't available. She would go out and mow the grass because she couldn't get us to do it. So she was like, I can't wait for y'all, so I'm just gonna do it myself. But I think that the dynamics that happen in a home, like I think when we first got married, we were very traditional. Very traditional, because when we first got married, she was a stay-at-home wife, so it was easy for us to just fall into those roles because she took care of the house during the day, and I worked, and I came home, and I remember my cousin came over the house, and we were eating, and she had made my plate and all this other stuff, and he was like, "Oh, y'all so old-fashioned," and my response to him was, "No, we're God-fashioned," and so. And so it looks really weird to some people to see people navigate in that type of way. And things have changed because, she 2 years in our marriage, she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go to work. And so she went back to work, and she excelled in the first job she got. And so she really got busy. And then even recently, like over the last couple of years, she looked at me one day and she's like, I'm tired. She's like, I can't do all of this. And that was incumbent upon me to take notice of what she was saying. And so I just had to step it up a little bit. So not that I never did dishes, not that I never did laundry, but I had to step it up some more and just take some of those things off of her load. We both work. We both work, so we have to just we have to figure all of those things out. I still take care of like the car and the stuff, and make sure it's got all the gas in it, make sure it's been washed and detailed and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But some of the things around, like I cook dinner, I can actually throw down. So it's okay for me to cook, and especially when she has spent a 12-hour day when I've only done maybe a 7-hour day or an 8-hour day.
And those are things that you do have to be honest with your spouse about. If you're tired, you're tired. I enjoy taking care of my household. I enjoy, serving you. I think I talked about this before.
You did.
But there's times where, no, not today. I'm tired.
I know that's right.
And
Not
you just
today.
have to, when you're as married couples, you have to, you have to play to your strengths and your weaknesses. I'll be honest, she's an amazing cook.
Okay.
I could do the basics, but now it's gotten to a point where I don't
spoiled.
even. Yeah, I'm spoiled. I'm definitely spoiled.
I understand being
But
spoiled.
I don't even feel comfortable in the kitchen because it's like, okay, what am I cooking? Some regular baked chicken or something. But it's never as good as hers, And so
with
we
you,
just
Kev.
have
I'm
to
with you.
play to our strengths, And she's a great mother as well when it comes to, like, I call her the boss.
Okay.
When people ask, oh,
You have said that to me.
yeah,
Talk to the boss.
Exactly. Talk to the boss when it comes to the girls because, she handles their schedules and so forth. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I feel like when it comes to gender roles, when I walked in this marriage, I knew that Ryan automatically was the head of the household. He was the leadership. He was the head honcho. But there's things that happen that if Ryan was to ever fall off, will I be able to take care of it? It's not always 50-50, 100-100. Sometimes I'll have 0, he'll have 10. So if I want to pursue a career, if we sit down and he said, babe, I want to do this, I want to pursue this, how would I be able to take care of that? Or if I want to go into a field, how can Ryan take care of that? So it's not like, oh, I'm the head honcho, but sometimes he would get really sick one day and it will all get on me. So we have to bounce off each other. But he's the head of the household. He is the man, the leadership, everything. I look at him. That's my husband.
There you go.
Now.
Right? And the thing about dynamics is, although the dynamics don't change, circumstances might change, which will cause, like, there have been times we go back and forth. Like, she gets a raise, oh, she make more money than me. I get a raise, I make more money than her. And that's okay because it's all going in the same pot. So why are we gonna be tripping off of who makes more? Some men are not comfortable with their wife making more money than them. I have no problem with it. It's all going in the same pot. When things come up, we all get to benefit from what's in that pot, right? So now I wanted to just touch on one more thing, and then we can close this out.
Video team is letting us know. Out of time. But keep going. We're good?
We're good?
Okay, keep going.
So,
Go ahead.
all right. So men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Here we go.
Right? And what I mean by that is that we speak two different languages.
Truth.
And every married man I've ever had a conversation with about this topic have all had the same situation. And I thought I was in it by myself. That's why I wanted to talk about this, because I always thought I was in it by myself. And then I found out, you mean to tell me all y'all going through this? Why didn't nobody tell me? That's why these conversations are important, because we don't talk enough. But I found out that we all going through this. So how have y'all figured out how to speak the same language?
I don't think we can. Honestly speaking, because there's certain things where, like, our day-to-day is different. Kevin wakes up and he's worried about bills, finances, what got paid, what didn't get paid, is the brakes going out on the car, did the car get washed, did the gardener come and cut the lawn. I wake up, I'm like, okay, where are the kids, permission slips? What am I gonna cook for dinner? What am I gonna cook for breakfast? Do they have, do they need to get their hair done? So I don't think the language, I think the goal is, the message is the same, but I don't think what is being said can ever be the same.
Right.
Speaking the same language, I don't think it's possible.
Okay, I got you. How about y'all? Have y'all come into this where it's just like, whatever you're talking about, I don't know what you're saying?
I mean, I think it varies from day to day. Some days it feels like, we're on the same road, and other days I feel like different roads but same destination. So I think it varies from day to day.
Okay, and I will say that one aspect of it is the way we used to argue or debate was very difficult, because I'm very literal and she's more passionate with her words. I'm literal with my words, right? And so she would say something and it would trigger me. It's like, you just said such and such, and that means this and this and this and this. And she's like, well, that is not what I meant. And I'm just like, well, you said it, so that must be what you meant, right? And I remember in school when I was doing a Bible interpretation class, the professor said something very profound. He said, words do not have meaning, they only have context. And when he said that changed my life, because I think we were able to have conversations in a totally different way than we were before. Because now I can ask her, when you said A, what did you mean by A? Because I understand A to mean this or this. And then she can say, well, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant. I'm like, okay, well, if that's what you meant, I wish you would have just said that. But now that I know that that's what you meant, okay, well, let's have that conversation. Right. Because I'm telling you, it would be like squirrel. As soon as she say that word, I would be on it, because it just would take me there. And that the language, it doesn't ever get the same, but we can learn how to understand each other's language. And that's what we have to do. And, you know, we go through all kinds of things. She's got her own things going on. I've got my own things going on. And just like Shayna, how you were saying that you have to remind him sometimes to, you know, kick back from working or whatever. My wife does the same thing. She like literally looks at me and she'll say, "You're tired." She's like, "Okay, we're not going to talk about ministry at
That's
all
right.
for the rest of the day." She's like, "You need to take a break from it." She's like, "You're not on the clock. You're not in a meeting right now. Let it go." She's like, "It can wait until tomorrow."
Yep.
And so, but because she knows how to convey things to me, she can do those things. Now, the reality is that sometimes she says them, and I may not hear them in that moment. I'm just being honest. I have to let it marinate a little bit, and then I can circle back to it and say, "You know what, baby, you were right." All right. Now, this was a great conversation. I thank y'all for coming out, and I thank y'all for spending this time. We have our ministry as one that is going to be starting, and y'all are some charter members. So there is going to be a lot more to be looking forward to as one. It's a marriage ministry. We'll be starting that here at St. John within the next month or so, and all married couples are welcome to join us. It doesn't matter how long you've been married. It just matters that you are married and that you are invested in your marriage. Thank y'all for spending this time with us on tonight. This has been another Christ Talk. Be bold, be boundless, be blessed.